Knitterati Block 28 is composed of two sections that are grafted together. The first piece that is worked is the bottom piece, in which you begin with the garter edge, work pattern A, and then pattern B, which ends with a right side row having worked a few rows of garter stitch. The top half is worked separately, and that one ends with a wrong side row. So the yarn will end on this end over here, having worked pattern A. The two pieces are grafted together right along this edge. At times, the first three and last three stitches, that is a garter to garter graft. And then for the center section, it is actually worked as garter to stockinette for grafting. To get set up, you're going to need to put the wrong sides together. Mine, of course, has already been grafted, so I'll just show you the best that I can based off what I already did. So you'll have the smaller piece, which is the top piece that you worked second on a live needle, and that one will sit on top. The wrong sides are facing each other, so basically it's just folded in half. And then here's the first piece that you worked, which ended with some garter rows. That's on a stitch holder at this point in time. I like to put it on a separate needle because I like to graft needle to needle, and I have plenty of needles laying around, so that works out well for me. But technically the pattern has this one on a stitch holder. So with the two pieces together, with the wrong sides facing, you'll have a tail 3 yards from that second piece that you worked that you're going to thread, and that will work to stitch across right to left, just as we do as we knit, to graft this piece to this piece. I've already done it, so I've created a simulation to show you. So for my simulation, remember we had piece A, which ended with some stockinette with the tail piece, and then the piece A and B, which is the first part that you worked, the lower pieces. And when we graft, we're going to turn it this way. That way that long tail is on the right hand side, so we can work right to left and then fold it wrong sides together. Okay, so that means that my bottom piece, which ended with the garter stitch, will be on the back needle. So I just put some garter on the back stitch holder, which, remember, I've used a second needle because I have one. So I just did some garter stitch on this guy, so you would just to simulate what's going on. And then the top piece, which was 3 stitches of garter followed by pattern A, which is a lace-based, stockinette-based lace pattern. So I just did some lace work that I pulled off that chart on this one to show you how things are done. So to set things up, wrong sides will be held together, curse flat, and then my long tail, the 3 yards, is on the front, and I've threaded it into a yarn needle. The first 3 stitches will be grafted in garter. The main body of the pattern is grafted in stockinette. The final 3 are again grafted in garter. So first thing I need to do is I need to set up, and I need to do that by placing the yarn needle purlwise into the first stitch on the front piece and then purlwise into the first stitch on the back piece. So we'll go like this. Purlwise into the front piece. And when you're working this, you're going to want to keep the yarn between the needles. Don't hop it over because then you'll be creating extra stitches on your needles. And then purlwise right here. Now I'm set up to graft. The first 3 stitches are grafted in garter stitch, which are worked as knit on, purl off, knit on, purl off, over and over again, starting with the front needle. So I will take that the front needle, and then work the yarn needle as knit on, purl off. So actually, I'm sorry, it's knit off, purl on. So needle gets inserted into that first stitch, draw it through, slip the stitch off, that's knit off, and then to purl on, slip that needle through that first stitch purlwise and leave it on the needle. Then we move to the back needle, knit off, needle goes in knitwise, stitch comes off, purl on. We have grafted 1 garter stitch. There are 3 of them, so 2 more to go. Again, back to the front needle. Knit off, then off, purl on, and then to the back needle. Knit off, purl on, 2 down, 1 to go, back to the front needle, knit off, purl on, then to the back needle, knit off, purl on. All right, so that's 3 grafted in garter. Now we're going to switch to grafting in stockinette. Same type of pattern where you're going to be working an off and on, alternating between the front and back needle, but the entry of your yarn needle is going to be a little bit different. Instead of knit on, purl off consistently, it will be knit on, purl off on the front needle, and purl off, knit on the back needle. So once again, that's knit off, purl off, knit on. So now's a good time to make sure the kids aren't going to interrupt you, the television is off, and all other distractions are taken care of. The dog doesn't need to be let in, and that way you can focus on what you're doing here. So knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on, and again back to the front needle, knit off, purl on, stay, there we go, purl off, knit on. So knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on, over and over and over, all the way down till you get to the last 3 stitches. Then you're back to grafting in garter, knit off, purl on, knit off, purl on, until you're all done. So I don't have time to do the whole thing for you, but I'd like to show you what it looks like. And as a matter of fact, it looks like nothing. There's no seam to be heard of on either side. That's the nice thing about grafting, is it joins 2 things seamlessly. And you can see the continuation here, for example, with the stockinette and that nice row of little V's created by the grafting. And if I tighten things up with the ends here with the garter, you'll be able to see the nice little garter edges and how they graft together too. So that's how it's done.